Well, hello and welcome to Sports by Compian. My name, of course, is your host, Stephen Compian. And we are here for another wonderful episode of recapping NFL action. That's right, people. Week 13? 12?
13. 13.
13. God damn, it's going fast. 13's in the books. And you've already heard from him. Returning friend of the show, Brent is back at it again, here to give us his input, here to tell us all the things that we need to know about football knowledge. And, of course, with juicy information going on about his Chicago Bears, we're happy to have him. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you, man?
Living the dream. Living the dream. We're happy you're here. We're happy we're going to be recapping week 13. Let's get right to it, man. We got some good stuff to cover. Sports Like Compian fans, we've decided not to just be covering all of the games because, as you guys may have noticed, the vague information we give you on this sports channel was even more vague at some points. So now we're trying to switch into a different model. We pay attention to a handful of games and we give you our input about them, such as the one that a lot of people are talking about: Houston Texans, Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, they're not really talking about this game because of how the game went, which, as you can see, was a whole bunch of field goals. CJ Stroud continues to struggle. They're talking about this game because Trevor Lawrence almost died. Maybe an exaggeration, but everyone, of course, has seen it by now. But if you haven't, go check it out. Uh, that sounds so weird to say. But anyway, my boy was sliding. The linebacker claims that he did not see the slide. That's according to his Twitter release. And, I've played defense, so I do know these things are bang bang. That said, man, you had about 4 yards when Trevor was already in sliding motion to read that. And you're telling me you, as a fast-paced athlete, couldn't read that a little faster? I'm a little sus. Especially the way he came in. But either way, that's the situation at hand. The chaos that ensued after was quality to watch. Shout out Evan Ingram. That is how you defend your quarterback. Take notes. Fucking offensive lineman of the Cowboys from a couple years ago with Andy Dalton. That is how you fucking defend your quarterback, dude. That whole team was out there like, bro, you do not hit our franchise quarterback like that. I personally love to see that. Uh, Shout out to the Texans defense. They're like, well, you're not getting our guy. Like, sorry, we gotta get in here too. So yeah, it was a lot of abuse. What do you think of the whole thing?
Yeah, I didn't see it live, but I I saw the replay. Like, I mean, those are hard to judge because, like you said, everything's going so fast. So, but I mean, it looked like he had the opportunity to pull up, and he hadn't. And also with Al Shahir, I think his name is. He has a history of doing this. I think it's like third or fourth time he's kind of been under the gun for having kind of a dirty hit. So, I was glad too that they came to Lawrence's defense, and also happened like right by the Jaguars sideline. So it looked like the entire team was surrounding one player for a few seconds there. But yeah, I know the NFL is trying to get rid of those hits. I know it's tough though. Just watching football over the years, stuff, especially in the NFL, is just so fast. So I don't know if it was intent to do that, but it looked like he also had the opportunity to pull up and kind of avoid him. I think he knew Trevor was going down. So, if it was his first time, I think people would kind of let it go.
Give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, just because it is third or fourth time this has happened to different quarterbacks now. And there's a history of him doing this over several years, kind of adding up. So, I'm glad they came to his defense. It sounds like Lawrence is going to be okay. Obviously, probably going to be out for a few weeks. I don't know if they're going to rest him the rest of the year just because they're so far out of it.
Such a bummer, dude. Like, the guy's just coming back from a shoulder thing and just bam, right back out.
Yeah. So, I know Doug Peterson, who I can't believe still has a job today, but he said that he's going to go into protocol and he should be okay in a couple weeks. So, but like I said, I don't know if they're going to even push to get him back this year just because it's kind of pointless. So, but yeah,
Doug Peterson saw his whole job just go up in smoke. He was like, I was hoping we could maybe pull out some wins, but that's all done now. Thanks.
Yeah. So, I don't know if Houston's very good. Talking about the game, just moving on past that. I think CJ Stroud, he's having obviously an off year. His rookie year, I think people had this crazy high expectation for him, and then this year he's kind of been up and down. I know their offensive line has been the best, and also the receivers have been hurt. Nico Collins just came back a couple weeks ago, and then obviously Stephon Diggs towards ACL, so he's been out. But I think Joe Mixon's a really good back. Obviously, 20 carries for 101. But yeah, Stroud's been struggling. The Houston's been struggling. I don't know if it's their defense. I don't know if it's a combination of a bunch of things. I know they're 8-5, so it's kind of crazy to say that. But looking back at some of their losses and close wins, I think they should have beat this Jaguars team who was banged up already coming into the week and then lose their starting quarterback, halfway through the game. I think they should have beat them by a lot more than 3 points. So I have no confidence in them, in the playoffs. I don't know moving forward, but I think they got some things to figure out this offseason in Houston for sure to take that next step to get to the top tier of the NFL for sure.
Yeah, but shout out Joe Mixon, man. Kind of having an underrated year with, obviously Barkley and King Henry going off. But he's quietly having a fantastic year down there with Houston, even with the struggles of C.J. Stroud. They're relying heavily on Mixon. He's showing he can catch the ball. He's carrying the load and doing a fine job of it. So good for him. It's cool to see these guys doing a good job. But, yeah, I'm with you on this. I think a lot of people are questioning the legitimacy of these Texans at 8-5. But either way, they're probably going to be in the playoffs, and we'll see what they can do. Playoff football is a whole new game, man. Who knows?
Yeah. Quick question for you: who would you take in the next 5 years? You take the Stroud, or would you take Lawrence?
Stroud or Lawrence? See, I'm kind of a Trevor reliever, but I think he's been around a little bit longer and has been struggling for sure. So the easy answer is CJ, but I think there's an argument to be made for Trevor. I think, when he's healthy, he does sling it, and he's doing really well. His decision-making is definitely suspect, especially this year. He's been making terrible decisions, but I think when he's not trying to play hero ball, and if he could just settle down and get that run game going again, I think it could be really good. But I think the verdict is still out, obviously, CJ being in his second year. But personally, right now, I'm taking a healthy Trevor Lawrence. If I was making a playoff push right now, going for the Super Bowl right now, I prefer a healthy Trevor Lawrence over a struggling CJ Stroud right now, who's in his second year.
Yeah. I think in Trevor Lawrence, he's 6'6". I think he's a quarterback you make out the lab. If you're creating a quarterback
for real, the kid's got to put it together at some point.
He's 6'6". Perfect.
That Chargers game last year or the other year kind of convinced me. He turned it on suddenly the second half. He's like, no, I would like a first playoff win, please.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was pretty incredible. But, yeah, no, I kind of heard that debate going around, so I was curious to get your opinion on that.
Interesting debate. It's definitely it's a thinker. Probably not taking Anthony Richardson. Sorry, Anthony.
No.
I just don't know if you're a real NFL quarterback at this point.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, a different game. Seattle Seahawks traveled to New York, and this was a crazy ass game. Special teams really balled out for the New England. For the Jets. Like they got not one, but two fumbles on the kickoff, put the Jets in perfect position. They took advantage of one of them. The second one, not so much, dude. Turns out ball got bobbled around. Your man Leonard Williams, Jets product himself, first overall pick, like forever ago, fucking takes it to the house on his old team and just shifted the whole momentum of this game. I think the Jets were about to go up. It might have been, I think it was only 14-7 at that point, about to go up 21-7. No, it was 21-7. They were about to go 28-7, dude. This would have been like the crusher. And instead, their boy takes it to the house. It was a slugfest after that. The Jets offense could not figure their life out. Aaron Rodgers had a tough day at the office. The offensive line had a tough day at the office. Breece Hall fumbles the ball when they're like getting some momentum going. That last drive was crazy too. They converted a couple times on fourth down, but not the second time. And that's the story. This Seattle defense really shut the door. But the Jets defense tried their damnedest as well. They really kept them in it. What do you think of all this?
Yeah, I know the Jets jumped out of that quick lead. Watched a little bit of them. Just watched to see how Rodgers was doing after their bye week. And the Jets are a team that confuses me because, man, they have a lot of talent. I mean, they have probably two of the best receivers in the league. And then, obviously, I think a really good 1-2 punch with Hall and Allen as their two running backs. So, and I know their offensive line, they're aging, but I don't think they're, anywhere near the bottom of the league. I just think it's really coaching. Rodgers, I think, is starting to show his age, unfortunately. I don't know. I don't know. The future of the Jets is kind of curious because, do they bring back Rodgers, who they hire as a new coach? Who does the new coach want to bring in his, rookie guy? And they keep losing, so their draft pick keeps, going up the board. So they might be in a prime spot to take one of these top quarterbacks next year. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of thought the Jets after how they started, 14-0. I think they thought they were going to kind of pull away, and Seahawks are another team that confuses me because 1 week they play terrible, next week they look like they could be a playoff team. So, I think I think the Jets had, the way they started, I think they had a, prime spot to kind of win this game and kind of maybe, make a late season playoff push or, just kind of salvage their season as best they can. But man, it seems like every week they're finding, new ways to win or new ways to lose, excuse me. And the Seahawks, they keep winning games. So, credit their rookie coach. I know they have a rookie coach, the old Ravens defense coordinator. So the defense seems like they play better and better every week. And then Geno Smith, he's up and down, but when it matters most, I think, he has a lot of weapons he can rely on to, get that offense moving. So not a whole lot more in this game than that for me, but, I think these are two teams kind of going in opposite directions. I think the Seahawks have a lot to look forward to with a lot of young guys, and their core looks really good. And then the Jets have a lot of things to figure out this offseason with, like I said, Roger and their coach probably being the top two. But, they have a lot of guys that are kind of aging on that roster, and even their defense, who I think they have like 10 first-round picks, man. They haven't really lived up to that billing this year. Some weeks they play great, and then other weeks seems like they're kind of lost out there. So I don't know. Like I said, I think a big part of it's coaching, and there's been a lot of turnover on that staff this year. So they have a lot to figure out this offseason and hopefully get back on track next year because, as much people like to, dog on the Jets and Giants, I think the league's better when, the New York teams are relevant and doing well. So
at least one of them.
Yeah, exactly. And both of them are kind of going bad directions, have a lot to figure out in the months moving forward here. So
you're right. And man, getting back to a couple of those plays I kind of forgot about, like right before Rodgers throws his interception, he missed a wide open Garrett Wilson. Now I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I could have made this pass, but Garrett Wilson had his man well beat in the end zone, and Rodgers overthrows him. And then you could tell he was frustrated by that pass. And then the next one's that pick that he probably tried to force into the middle, and it's just like, oof, that's a tough mistake from the veteran because the Jets special teams, like I mentioned, not only did they produce two, fumble recoveries, but they scored one. They took one to the house too. So there was so many factors trying to set up the Rodgers to win this game, and he just could not get it done. Totally agree with you. Two franchises headed in different directions. I mean, maybe they're just a quarterback away, like they've been for a couple years here at the Jets, though, because they, like you said, talent everywhere.
Yeah, and that's the thing that confused me, man. I think they thought Rodgers was going to come in, kind of be the savior, but they bring his best friend Devontae, and that's the thing. I think sometimes he looks for Devontae too much, and then when Devontae's not open, he kind of panics, and you see some mistakes because it seems like yesterday he was targeting Devontae a bunch, and then they kind of took him away in the second half, and that's when the Jets, wheels. They got shut out in the second half. So
find Garrett Wilson. He's really good too.
Yeah, I mean they were up, they were 14-0 in the first quarter. You're looking great, and then I think they kind of took away his best weapon in Devontae, and kind of saw Rodgers make some mistakes after that. So
yeah, it's a good point. And Breece Hall not having a good year, like fumbles. He's not maybe getting as many touches, but it's like he's not earning the confidence I think from the coaching staff to get those touches right now.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so the one that we've been waiting for, Brent, are you excited about this? Are you excited to cover this? Because I mean, there's some good that came out of this game for you guys. It wasn't all bad.
Yeah. 11:30 start, kind of early start. More than normal on a NFL day. So, first half they were sleepwalking. I think they were down, 16-0 at half. Looked like nothing was going right. Caleb looked lost out there. The team kind of looked like they had quit. But
wasn't it kind of like a lucky 16-0? Like the Lions had kind of messed up a little bit in the red zone, otherwise it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was. There were several times the Lions got to the red zone, and the Bears either got a turnover, got to stop, and forced them to just kick a field goal. So,
Bears defense is legit, man.
Yeah, they're legit. I think they're playing. Some weeks better than times, but I thought. Personally, I thought the Lions would hang, 40 on the Bears. So I was happy how they played. I think they always play the Lions well. So I kind of thought it'd be closer than a lot of people did. But, obviously, at the end of the game, people are going to talk about. But before that, the second half, the Bears came out, showed a lot of fight. Obviously, outscored them 13-0 in the fourth quarter. Speaks to them and speaks to their willingness to, trying to figure things out. And I think they're right there. I mean, they've been right there the last, 3 weeks, blocked field goal and then caused overtime against the Vikings. And then, obviously this game, clock management at the end was terrible. But, leading up to it, I think the good news is out of all this, I think the Bears finally found their guy in the quarterback. I think, watching, 20 years of Bears football, I've never seen a quarterback make some of the throws that Caleb Williams can make. And he seems more and more confident every week. And the offensive line, I think they're starting to play a little better together. Obviously, that needs to be addressed this offseason. But I think they have a few pillars there, especially their tackles. I think they're playing better. But in the receiving core, I like Keenan Allen. He's obviously old. I think he's probably gone after this year. But, DJ Moore seems like he's getting better and more comfortable with Caleb every week. So that's definitely good to see. And then Roman Dunze, wish they use him a little more. But, I think when he's relied on, he comes through. So I like the play call the last couple of weeks as they change offense coordinators. But, man, that last, 32 seconds, you can't. I don't know, especially with the timeout, you have that in your pocket. And people are going to blame Caleb and say that he should have, been realized that. But, my counter to that is, Eberflus is not calling the offensive play. So he's got one job when they're on offense, that's clock management. So how he sees the clock, going past 10 seconds and they still have a snap off and not calling a timeout, because I think it'd be about a 59-yard field goal. And, obviously that's not a highly likely chance he's going to make that. But, you got to give your kicker at least a chance to, send it to overtime.
Well, there just should have been a timeout as soon as the sack happened. As soon as the sack happens, that's a timeout right there. Like, why are you relying on your rookie quarterback to put together a next play?
Yep. Yeah, and they get to the line with about 17 seconds, and then Caleb's got to change the play. And I think right when Eberflus saw that he was changing the play, I think he should have called timeout. And I agree. I think he should have called timeout 32 seconds and got him organized, and then maybe ran one more play and then spiked the ball and kick a field goal. But it was tough to process. I mean, like I said, they're finding new ways to lose every week. I told myself the Bears aren't going to break me anymore this year, and they find new ways to break my heart. So, but I think they're going in a positive direction. I know the GM and president had a press conference this morning about them moving forward, and obviously Thomas Brown had his first introduction as interim coach. So I like Thomas Brown. I don't know if he's the coach of the future by any means, but I think he'll be good for the next 5 weeks, kind of getting this team hopefully back on track and at least winning maybe 2 more games just to get them a little positivity going into this offseason and next year. And, at this point, they're 4-8. They're probably going to have a top 12 to 15 draft pick, and there's a lot of good talent in the first round. Looks like they're going to be, especially where they need offensive and defensive line, going to be pretty deep this draft. So, I could talk obviously at length about this, but I don't love how they handled the firing either. Friday morning, kind of let they made Eberflus do a press conference at 9 a.m.
That was so weird. Why?
And then 15 minutes later, they announced his firing. So,
I'm not sure. Like, you got to go do a conference that early, and then you're going to get fired right after? Fuck.
Yeah. And then, you got to ask, 4 separate questions. Like, do you expect me to be the coach, tomorrow? And he's, he kind of put him on the spot. And he's like, yeah, we're preparing for the 49ers. And then, 30 minutes later, he gets fired. So I think they could have handled that a little better, but I think that at the end of the day, it's their first time they fired a coach in season in 105-year history of the Bears. So I think that speaks to something. I think there's, new.
Maybe they're hoping he was going to say something really cool in the press conference to convince them to not fire him.
Yeah, save his job. Yeah. But I think they were transparent, today saying, they kept having those late game blunders and they can't have those, So if you want to be a winning team, you got to win those close clutch games. And, they obviously weren't doing that. So I think they are right there. I think they're, maybe a step or 2 back. Even how good this division is, they could have easily beat the Packers, Vikings, and Detroit these last 3 weeks. If, a couple different things happen. So I don't think they're too far away from these 3 teams. These 3 teams are probably the best, some of the best teams in the NFL. So, I think the Bears have a couple things to address this offseason. Obviously, coach being number 1, and then offensive line and, defensive line getting better there. And, maybe but I think the weapons are there and Caleb's there. And, obviously finding a quarterback in the league's hard because, as you see, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't really have a chance in this league. And a lot of teams are struggling with that, as, the Jets, they have all the talent, but they just don't have a quarterback right now. So I think we're close, but I think we have a lot of work to do this offseason. And I trust Ryan Poles. I think I like him as GM, the moves he's made. Also, some of the moves he's made haven't been the greatest, but I think the pros outweigh the cons with him. So just look around the division. It's tough, being in a division where it's so, you're going to have to win
It's a rough
probably
division.
11 to 13 games to, have a shot to win the division. That's pretty tough. So, I think the talent's there. I think the leadership is there for the most part. And now you just got to find the right coach to lead. And I've heard some, college names. I've heard, Mike Vrabel. I've heard obviously Ben Johnson. So I don't know who my favorite is. I think I just, I hope they just don't get like the third or fourth best option. I hope they can go out and get the best option available because I think they have the most probably attractive spot for a new coach to go. And so I don't know. I've heard, obviously the Marcus Freeman, the Notre Dame coach. I heard that yesterday. I think Peter Schrager said that, which kind of surprised me because I haven't heard that name at all. And then I've heard Dan Lanning, the Oregon coach, and Lincoln Riley, the coach at USC. That was Caleb Williams' college coach. So I don't know. I don't know if I want a college coach, but I think I'm open to anything at this point. I want somebody who comes in.
What about Bill Belichick? Get the legend in there.
I'm not huge on Bill, but I'd rather have Mike Vrabel. I think Bill Belichick's time has kind of passed him. I think Belichick would want to come in and run the whole thing how he wants to run it, and I think that's kind of the time's kind of passed him. I think he's a great NFL mind. He's a great defensive mind, but he's also he also has talked pretty down about Caleb Williams. I don't think he's a huge fan of him. So, I don't know. I think if Belichick came in, I don't know how I feel. Obviously, he's a legend and he's got a lot of winning in his history, but obviously the NFL is a lot different than it was, 5 years ago when he was having success. So, I think there's a lot of questions. Obviously, I feel like every offseason the Bears go into it with a lot of questions, and this offseason is no different. I think this is the most important. I've heard a couple people say it's the most important coaching hire in probably Bears history, and I think it is because I think they finally have a quarterback they can win with. So now they just got to pair the right coach with them, and hopefully they can do that and then start winning some games.
They should go offensive minded in that case,
Yeah, I think they will. I think they will. So we'll see. Should be interesting, but interested and eager to see the next.
And don't hire anybody named Matt.
Yeah, well, I know. I don't know. Well, I guess that name's kind of cursed for the Bears. So.
All right. Well, that is the Bears situation at hand. The Lions continue to soar. They're now 11-1. I think the best team in the NFL for sure, especially since the Chiefs now have a loss to go with them as they nibbled out the LA. All right, we're not going to get too into that game, but are you a little sus on that whole situation with the way that Raiders game ended?
Yeah, it seems like there was confusion. I was kind of half watching that game, half not. It wasn't a very interesting game, but the fourth quarter kind of tuned in and saw that play, and it looked like one ref called a false start, and then obviously that play would be dead, and then I guess after the game, some Raiders players were saying they heard a whistle, and that's why all of them stopped, and nobody really recovered the ball because thought it was a dead ball, and I don't know. It seems like the Chiefs get bailed out a lot by the refs. I don't think the Chiefs are a Super Bowl team this year. I say that knowing they have, probably the best quarterback in the league. But looking at his stats this year, it seems like the NFL is kind of slowly figuring him out. And I'm not saying, he's still great, obviously, but I think their offensive line's kind of struggling, and their defense hasn't been as great as years past. I know they're still, top 10 probably in the league, but it seems like every week they're, barely pulling out these games. And a good team like the Ravens or in the AFC or the Steelers, I think they could beat them in a playoff game. So it'll be interesting to see how what happens with the Chiefs because they're 11-1, but I feel like the Detroit 11-1 is a lot different than the Chiefs 11-1. So
agreed. Yeah, I totally agree with all that. I'm just going to leave it as is. Chiefs are 11-1, and we'll see where it goes in the playoffs.
Feels like the Lions and Eagles are on a collision course for an NFC Championship, though.
Sure does. The Eagles have figured their lives out. You know who are the only both those teams are something like 16-0 after playing a one Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who gave both those teams some of their only losses of the year. Tampa Bay Buccaneers pulled off a win. And oh my God, I may have lost a couple years off my life watching this game.
Panthers are feisty, man.
Panthers are feisty right now. They should have won this game. They played better than us. Like, they should have won this game, but they could not put points on the board. And that was mostly due to Eddie Pinheiro just having a terrible game, which shout out Eddie Pinheiro, shout out Jake Moody, kicker from the 49ers. They both really did their best to give us our game. So really couldn't have done it without you, Eddie. I'm sure that's going to cost you some dollars, but, we appreciate it here in Tampa. Not that I'm in Tampa, but we appreciate it regardless. Yeah, dude, this game was wild. Shout out Bryce Young. I mean, he has his best game. Best stats he had in the first half. He slowed down a little bit in the second. We started to figure him out a little bit better, but he's starting to look really good out there. Adam Thielen should have been given that touchdown. I'm not going to be biased here, dude. I have no idea how that didn't get overturned, but I came back from going to the bathroom and I was like, oh, they kept that? Okay, sweet. Fuck yeah. I'm not about to send a lot of questions out there. And you know what? What I will say is we've been getting screwed by the refs a lot throughout this year. If you've been watching Sports by Compian, I can list you a couple games, but 2 different Falcons games come to mind just off the top of my head, not to mention a Chiefs game. So you know what? The NFL gods, as Todd Bowles said there at the podium, he's like, the football gods were with us today. And God damn it, but they were. Because Todd needed this game. If he loses this game, there's a good chance they might have to pull the trigger and fire him. Because we just can't. You can't lose to the Carolina Panthers while we're pushing for the playoffs right now. So anyway, yeah, this game was wild. Baker had probably one of his, besides the Denver game, his worst game of the year. So it was crazy. He was injured. They rush him back onto the field, and he scampers out there off play action and throws an interception right to the defender. It was like, dude. Then the other one was pretty bad too. He stared down Cade Otton for like a half hour, and then he finally threw the ball to him. And yeah, the corner jumped it. Shocker. It's so yeah, real rough game for Baker, but he shows some grit, man. Like when we really needed him, dude runs on a broken ankle pretty much to get into field goal range. Like he's just such a baller. He'll come back out there and just keep fighting, dude, and the whole team fights with him. That's really what's winning these games right now. Bucky Irving went off, man. Bucky's killing it these last couple weeks. We just need to continue to rely on him. It's pretty much what Cohen went to in that second half to set up that touchdown before the Panthers took back the lead. They pretty much just relied on Bucky, and he just rammed it down their throat. It was freaking awesome. Unfortunately, he got a little tired, and they put in Rachaad White, who could not finish it, much to the dismay of my fantasy team. Not that it mattered. We got killed anyway. But he could not get an extra yard, and then we had to settle for a field goal, which set up Carolina to come driving down there. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, all right, defense has been decent the second half. We just got to stop them from scoring a touchdown, which we've been great at all game. Nope. Bryce Young fucking fakes out Vita Vea, which, I mean, it's Vita Vea. What are you going to do? He's a big boy. Anyway, my boy, he pops out there, finds room, and I'm just thinking, oh, fuck. And sure enough, he launches it downfield to a wide open Adam Thielen, who redeems himself with another touchdown. And then, like, oh, man, I'm thinking this is all over. This is the worst day of my life. It's terrible, terrible. The Bucs get it back. Like I said, Baker Mayfield runs on a broken ankle or whatever he had and gets us into field goal range. Chase Money motherfucking McLaughlin sends us to overtime. And you know what? We love Baker. We do. But the man can't call a coin toss. So instead we said Lamonte David out there, and Buccaneers legend that he is, takes care of business like he does in these big moments, and called it correctly. Set the boys up. We were going to score. We get down into Carolina territory. Penalties get us like we've been doing all year. I think he even got sacked. I forget. Set up Money McLaughlin for a pretty good field goal. He should have made this. It was within his range. When did he miss this? Whatever. Point is, finally missed one. I'm like, oh, wow, we are really fucked now. Because sure enough, Carolina comes storming back. They got to get into field goal range, though. And I think on third down, he finds Adam Thielen. And, dude, that catch by Thielen, like after I saw that, I was like, all right, we deserve to lose. Yeah. That was insane. Okay. You guys,
that was crazy.
You guys deserve this game. But no! Not Carl Nassib, but he does look a lot like him. Mr. Nelson himself, Anthony motherfucking Nelson, 4th round pick from 2020 or some shit, man. This guy's like just been an engine player for us for years. Just put him in there, a depth guy will always get you 4 to 5 sacks, and man, he comes through with the fucking hero play and strips Chuba Hubbard. Feel bad for Chuba Hubbard because I do like the guy. But god damn, we needed that play. It was beautiful. Yaya Diaby fucks around for a little while. I think he was trying to pick it up and go for the touchdown, but instead he ends up landing on it. And that was enough. Bucky Irving gets us back into field goal range, and this time, no, it wasn't Irving actually that time. Rachaad White didn't like all the trash talk that was going on in the subreddit of the Buccaneers, and he heard all these people talking piles of shit about Rachaad White. So instead he took a 40-yard run himself to get us into proper field goal range. McLaughlin gets it done, and we pull off a ridiculous win. Yeah, just absolute mayhem. Definitely shouldn't have won, but yet we did, and we're still in the playoff hunt, baby. Let's go.
You guys are probably the best 6-6 team I've seen in a long time. Feisty 6-6 and getting a little more healthy. I know Evans couple weeks back now. So
Evans had a game. I forgot to mention that. Put him back on track for 10,000. He had to hit that. He had 118. Very needed yards.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Baker. I think you guys are feisty. I think the defense is good. Todd Bowles, I'm not sold on, but he seems to win games. So I guess I can't really hate on him too much. But yeah, man, the Panthers, they're feisty. I think that's, they're a different team when the Bears beat them, I think 38-10, 2 months ago. I think they're much different. I'm kind of happy to see Bryce Young after all the shit people talked about him kind of back on track. And it seems like
I am too. Very happy to see that.
Be the franchise.
Which wasn't against my team, but should have predicted that.
Yeah.
We do like to be the team that quarterbacks have their coming of age game against.
Yeah. This was a big. I thought maybe kind of be a letdown spot for the Panthers after they almost beat the Chiefs last week, but they came in and almost won this game, and maybe should have, but no, good teams find a way to win. I think when they don't have their best, and I think that's what the Buccaneers did. So, watched a little bit of this game, but I think your breakdown was pretty good. But yeah, Buccaneers think they have a good shot to. I think the division is kind of up for grabs, in my opinion. I think
Atlanta is stumbling hard, and I love to see it. I love to see it.
Yeah,
man, they could have got. Justin Herbert got me freaking 8 points in fantasy, so I know it wasn't the Chargers' offense that beat them. It's Kirk Tober with 4 interceptions on the day. Oh man,
yeah.
I do like Kirk Tober. Don't get me wrong, but I love to see 4 interceptions.
Some weeks he looks like the MVP, and some weeks he looks like he's too old to be in the league.
I'll tell you when he looks like the MVP. The 2 times he's played the Buccaneers this year, both times he absolutely destroyed us.
Yeah.
If he could just play the Buccaneers every week, he'd be an MVP candidate for sure. He would take it by a mile.
I think if he played the Bears and the Buccaneers, he'd be an MVP candidate because he was a Bears killer forever when he played for the Vikings. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. You got plenty of experience with the old Kurt Tober.
Oh yeah. So.
But anyway. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just, I think, I feel like I've watched football the last 8 days, and by Sunday night, I was almost exhausted just watching so much football. But
so much football.
I think, but no, the Thanksgiving I think was good. I think even the games that people weren't excited for, I think they still were good games. Obviously, that Miami Packer game at night was kind of predictable just because it was so cold, and Miami was coming from 80-degree weather, so they landed in Green Bay and it's 10 degrees, so and snowing. So, but no, I think it was a good week. But yeah, I think a lot of teams have a lot of stuff to figure out, and obviously the last 5 weeks kind of get into the playoff push here for some teams, and playoff hunt, and other teams kind of mailing it in. So, but yeah, for sure should be. I think Tampa's got a very important next 5 weeks if they can. Who they got next week?
It's a good question. Who do we have next week? The point is, though, if we win these next 5 with the stumble of what's their name? The fucking 49ers, we are in the playoffs. Which I don't know how exactly that works, but apparently it does. So that's good to know.
Yeah. 49ers, man, they might blow everything up, man. It seems like every week they're
but is it a what's his name over there? Is it a Purdy thing? Is it a Purdy thing? Or is it they're just not he's not good enough?
Yeah, I don't know. I was reading some
we got the Raiders at home, baby. Let's go.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But there's no easy games in the NFL.
No.
These guys did just almost beat the Chiefs. So everyone almost beat the Chiefs. Literally everybody almost beat them. I think 2 or 3 of their games were actually convincing by double digits.
Yeah. They hardly ever cover. So, but no, Purdy. I thought for sure he's their franchise guy, and now I'm not sure. Seems like a lot of people too on Twitter were talking on Sunday after that Sunday night game that they don't know if he's the guy anymore. So. I don't know. I think he's a good quarterback, but man, it seems like 49ers fans, the world's burning. It seems like so. I think
I'm surprised they want to go back to purgatory because, before the Alex Smith thing started to work out, it was a mess over there for a long time after Young retired on them. So
yeah, seems like.
Can't forget the Jeff Garcia years. Sorry, Jeff.
Yes, yeah.
Bucks,
Colin Kaepernick.
Bucks legend.
Colin Kaepernick, of course.
Oh yeah, I guess that was pretty good too. They did make a Super Bowl.
They did, yeah.
We're trying to pretend like the Kaepernick era never happened. Anyway, so yeah, the Bucks got the Raiders at home next week. We are in a good spot. Looks like the Commanders are going to lock up that one NFC spot, and with the way the NFC North is playing, one of those three teams, like, what's going to happen there? Someone's going to get left out with like a crazy winning record. So I don't think either of the wild cards are really up for grabs. I think it's more about what Atlanta does. And right now we're tied with them. But the problem is they beat us both times we played them. So that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, they have the tiebreaker, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to see it all goes, man. We'll have to see it all goes.
Yeah, especially that three. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a time where three NFC North teams made the playoffs, but this might be the year because, man.
Right. If the Commanders stumble, one of those teams is going to snatch up that spot. That's a good point.
No. And it should be interesting, though.
Should be interesting indeed. Brent, do you have any last words, any loving advice you'd like to give our fine sport gente of Sports by Compian?
I just think the Bears find new ways to lose every week. So just know when your fans are out there watching Sunday football and the Bears find another way to lose, I'm just, sitting in misery. And it seems like every week the misery just grows. So
you're sitting in misery with your fellow fans, though. You guys are all experiencing it together.
I guess so. So I don't know. Maybe one day I can be a fan of a team that actually does well. So I'm a Nebraska football fan. So they're not much better. So. But yeah, no, I think they
had a tough one, man. They almost pulled it off Saturday. That was tough. I saw that game. Sorry,
seems like Iowa's always got their number. So
that game was so ridiculous. Typical Iowa game, man. They're like, all right, that was cute that you scored some points in the first half. No points allowed in the second, okay?
Nope. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and then having to do back-to-back days of the Bears on Thanksgiving and then that game on Friday night. Man, that was
tough.
Not
right.
That was tough. No, but I appreciate you having me on, man, and like what you're doing here, and it seems like you growing every week. So really, really appreciate you having me on again.
Absolutely, man. We're happy to have you, and we'll hope to have you back. Sports by Compian fans, continue to pay attention to us here at Sports by Compian by liking and subscribing to our content. Otherwise, how will you know that it's out? I don't trust the YouTube algorithm to tell you. Do you? Because they will not tell you, likely. So instead, you should pay lots of attention to us and make sure you're liking and subscribing to our content. Thank you so much, Sports by Compian.